you guys enjoy your whatever that is.
All right. Test.
Hey there! Welcome back to Convincing Idiots. This is segment number 3. That's right. I am Millennial Nick, alongside Gen X Brian, Xennial Larry Mulburn, and Don Harvey, the boomer.
Good callback.
That's right, thank you. That was a little birdie in my ear, your brother. Told me to bring that up. So, we are here for segment number 3, as I have mentioned. This is our guest of honor. This is Boomer Don. We are going to interview Don tonight. If you're just joining us for segment number 3, Don is my father-in-law and Dean's father, and Brian's fellow Stone Age friend from back in the day when they were children. So we are.
Do you remember the
Nixon inauguration together? I think
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
Held hands when the moon landing happened?
Sure.
Beautiful.
They shared cigarettes outside. Remember the Flintstones when they did the cigarette ads?
Yeah.
Right.
That was those two.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Sure.
So this is a nice little reunion of sorts. So because we are so eager to learn about the days of yesteryear, and Brian is kind of a closed case, we're going to interview...
You're not as close as I am.
We're going to interview Don this evening. So, Dean, this is your father.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and get us kicked off here?
Thank you, Nicholas.
That's what his mom told him.
That's right. That's right.
We have the test results, actually. That's going to be at the end.
He's going to jump up and down.
Don? Now, go ahead. We're going to wait.
He's
We're
like,
gonna-
please, God, just take one off my plate. Just one. Just one.
All right.
I don't care which one.
So-
just take one.
I wanted to do this for the longest time. I've thought about many different iterations of this, of talking to my father about different aspects of his life.
You
Because
could just call him if you want to talk to him.
I'm all right. he doesn't answer. He doesn't know how to answer the goddamn phone. It rings and it's just this magical thing in his hand and it confuses him.
It does.
So I've thought all these years about doing different aspects of writing a book, doing a podcast, telling a story, because he's had so many different things that he's done in his life. I've called him almost like the Wish version of Forrest Gump. He has done everything from he's met Muhammad Ali to he was in Vietnam. He ran moonshine. He was at the Kent State shooting in 1970. All of these things and so much more, but I wanted to get all of this out in the universe, right? So I am taking
You're an interesting fella.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to find out. Maybe not so much. I don't know.
I don't
Maybe it's just me.
remember that. I don't remember it being interesting.
So we're going to find out.
You made a beautiful daughter that let me hump her, and I appreciate that. That's one of the most important things.
Very nice.
Let's sit on that one, guys. Yeah.
Oh, what a nice, warm
That's
family
just-
moment there.
Right.
Let's let that awkwardness just hold us
son.
in its bosom.
Thank you. Don't put that picture in my mind either.
Actually, there's a picture that Brian has to put on.
There's actually a
on the
video
YouTube.
if you want to see it.
I've got a pass.
The lighting's bad. Don't worry about it.
It's a short video.
All right. All right. So, Dad,
7 minutes of power. Brought to you.
what the hell did you do with the other 5? All right. So,
Come on, Dean, spit it the fuck out. Let's go.
we can talk about your dick so much and confuse and intrigue me. All right. So, Dad, I've been trying to think of like where to start, and
The beginning's good.
the beginning. Okay, you were born in 1947,
Yes, sir.
right?
Damn.
I know, I'm old.
That's almost as old as Brian.
You were born right here in Barberton. If anybody's from Barberton, you were born in the little. It's now a
daycare
daycare center.
Child.
on Worcester Road.
Yes.
Next to the old KFC.
Right,
Yeah.
which is now torn down. But you spent your summers in Tennessee.
Summers and a lot of time other than just summer, I was down there a lot.
Okay. You rode horses. You did, I don't know, do you have sex with cows? Like, I don't know what you do in Tennessee. What do you do on a farm? Like, you know what a farm, you know what you do on a farm? You're not from, you're in Kenmore.
Thanks for skipping me immediately, because like I'm the least farm person you'll ever meet. I have no idea.
Never stayed on a farm.
Well,
Right.
the whole idea of being a farm kid is really, at the time you don't see it, but later on in life you go, wow, what a trip. And I don't know, go day to day. You got your chores to do, like they say in the Cowboys.
You
got
kill
your
snakes
chores.
and whatnot?
Huh?
Kill snakes?
That's another story.
No. But I remember
want
from my
that
childhood.
story?
Yeah, the horse. And
We used to have to go up. Sometimes the cows were stubborn; they wouldn't come off the hill.
So I'm sorry, you lived on a farm? This was like the family home?
he lived here in Barberton.
Okay.
And
Summers were in Tennessee.
Summers are in Tennessee.
With grandparents?
Grandparents, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
My namesake. The Deans.
the cows would not come off the hill when they called. And the strangest thing is, I remember my grandpa calling those cows. You want to hear it? See! I'd hear
But
that.
he
in
would
my
actually
sleep.
say it. I thought that was like a joke. Like,
No,
That was
that's
like a
how they
pig
call
thing.
those
Right.
cows.
But no work for cow. Okay.
And they wouldn't come off the hill. Okay, I'd have to go get them. So I'd saddle a horse and start up on the hill and go get them and run them off the hill. Well, sometimes that took a while, but anyways, we had electric fence all the way around the property. I mean, live electric fence. You always tell when it was on because you click, click. And you hear that all night and all day. But if it stopped clicking, that means the fence is down somewhere or something's wrong.
What if that happened in the middle of the night? No one would ever know.
Oh, he and Papa'd know.
So it was almost like a white noise thing, to where like it's
For
always
him.
clicking,
Like rain or
and if it ever
something.
stopped, he'd be like, something's wrong. Like,
Yes.
just innately.
I believe, yeah, I'm sure. But there'd be a break in the wire. Anyways, one time I was going up there to get them and run them off the hill. I started running them off the hill, and I went by the pond. And we had a little water pond. Well, it's a pretty good sized water pond on top of the hill. And all of a sudden I look over the pond, there's snakes all over the place. I'm going, what the hell's going on here? So, the horse didn't want no part of that. So I went out and told my grandpa, and he said, well, they come out and sun themselves once in a while. I'm going, well, let them go back to wherever they came from, because I don't want them up there. But the time Dean's talking about is the fence shut down. So now I got to take the wire out and go take the horse, take a roll of wire and go find out where it's broken. So right where I think it's at, or where it usually breaks, I'm riding up there, and there's a rattlesnake between me and that fence. That horse took that rattlesnake and just stomped the piss out of him. I mean,
you were on the back of it?
I was still on the back, and he was just stomping the hell out of that snake. And I'm going, okay, that's one for you, horse. Because if I'd have got off, but those horses are smart too. And just like cattle and horses, and we had bulls. Bulls are mean. Don't ever let them tell you they ain't. They are. And
Go get the horns.
yeah, and we raised tobacco for a long time. And
That's
then-
one thing I do remember, because by the time I got up there with you, everything was, the farm was still viable, but there was just fields of tobacco. And they had the tobacco barns, like when you see with the slats in it, with the sun coming in.
And you had to, and the thing about handling tobacco is you cut it, stacked it on the truck, drove it up, and then you have to hang it and let it dry for a couple of weeks before you can take it to market. It's got to dry out. And
Now, one thing, again, I didn't mean to ask this question, but it kind of came to mind here. Ever since I was getting, I've always been curious. Was there a stash that you guys had for you? Like you have the stash tobacco that you have for the market. Did you guys hold back like, oh, this is our tobacco. We're going to dry it out and we're going to smoke this or
no, because
chew this or
out of the field, it's not processed.
oh, so it's got you're setting it to a place to get processed. Okay.
Yeah. It just dries out and then you take it to market. That's how it goes. But there's no, you can't use it until then.
Till they do their thing with it, till it leaves you, and they
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember my great grandmother, his grandmother, Flossie Dean. She lived till what, 98?
Something like that.
98?
Yeah.
And until they made her be in a home, I remember on the end of the ironing board was a spittoon because she had the rip of chaw. 98 years
Snuff.
old. Snuff.
There you go.
And fucking chewed that shit until she's 98 years old, and they made her,
She, we used to, after Grandpa died, she wanted to stay up on the farm, and we didn't want to leave her there like that, by herself. And we had to take the plugs out of the tractors, the plugs out of the
she'd have kept
chainsaw, or she had them
90-some years
running.
old, she'd have kept going.
Yeah, she'd have kept going. And story that Dean likes, or did like, that my stepdad was a big man. He's about 6'4", and we usually take the bull, the little calves in the bulls, down to the farmer down the road there. We walked the cows down, or took them down there. And yeah, that's one young bull that was pretty reasonable, And we were taking him down to Charlie's place. And my dad says, "Let me have that rope, Hobe." And he took hold of the rope, got his hands all wrapped up in that rope. And
Hobe was your grandfather.
yes, Hobe was my grandfather.
First name.
And took off. He went through over the fence, drugging through, and all you could see is the corn ears going down where that cow was dragging Dad through the woods. That was the funniest thing I ever seen in my life. He didn't think it was so funny, but
yeah.
You know how gigantic of a man Al Norman was.
yes.
That's a lot.
He was taking a lot of corn out with him.
Sure.
That's what was there.
If it had been tied to his feet, it'd have been up his ass.
Yes, a lot of corn.
So working on a farm like that as a kid, do you find as you go back and look at it did that instill like your work ethic? I mean, how did that impact you as you go back and look as you grew up? At the time, you probably didn't think about it. You were just doing work on Grandpa and Grandma's farm. But
Right.
How do you think that may have impacted you?
I don't. You knew you had to do it, okay? It's like a job you do now, You knew you had to do the job. And the jobs he gave me were not all that bad, really, when I think back on it. But I'm sure in some ways it grew me up as opposed to, It's one of the reasons that when I had to come back to Ohio, when I quit in my junior year and went in the military at 17, one of the reasons is I can't sit there at that desk and do that crap. I can't sit there and, 7 hours
There's
a
so
day.
much more.
Yeah, that I'd done all this with what I'd done, and I'm just not doing this. So that's when I joined the military.
But when you said that you were, it grew you up fast. Tell us about you had your driver's. You didn't get your driver's license, but you were driving at a young age.
14.
14 years old. who taught you how to drive?
Grandpa.
Grandpa
Hobe.
Hobe Dean taught you how to drive. So after you learned how to drive at 14, tell us about what were some of the fun jobs you got to have within your family within driving as a teenager?
Oh, Lord. I knew you'd get into that eventually. Usually it was just farm work around there with the truck.
Sure. During the day?
During the day, yeah. But I got hooked up with some people. And
Hookers.
Huh?
Hookers?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was much later in
My
life.
PP wasn't ready. We got hooked up with some guys, and they were making booze.
Guy hookers.
Yeah,
They were making moonshine.
they were making moonshine. So after being with them for a while, we had 2 or 3 different cars. We had a fast cars. I mean, they had motors in them, brother. These guys put in, and
outrun the police, right?
oh yeah.
Yep.
So from inside, from down the mountain, down the long road, you take the car and you drive it, and then you get up on the highway, or not highway, roads, and you had about a 4-mile trip, almost 5 miles, to a little restaurant. And the little restaurant set off the road a little bit. You would run the car back in there, and you'd take it to the back, garage door would go up, and you'd run the car in the garage, and they put the garage door down. And that's how they unloaded the booze out of the car. I did it a few times. Till the Thurston grade, yeah. My cousin was a Tennessee state trooper, and he told my mom that he knew I was doing it. Oh my God. The lid come off the house. I mean, holy moly.
Your cousin there, the state highway, Thurston
Greg.
Thurston Greg.
Now, how did he know that you were involved? Did you have to
Thurston Greg is
outrun
like
him?
Yes.
Like that sounds like somebody from the Dukes of Hazzard, doesn't
He
it?
recognized.
Thurston Greg.
Yeah.
I don't know how he recognized me, but he did.
Yeah. So it was like a chase scene. Like it was like a full. Like he had to go after you. And you had to outrun him.
I went by him, and I didn't really see the car right away off the side. And when he hit the headlights, I knew I was in trouble. So that 327, that big Buick is not going to catch me. And I got in there, got in the car, and I had time to go back and look out the basement window and see him go by.
Real quick, how old were you?
15,
15?
16,
Okay.
maybe 15. Yeah.
So you got to the house, parked the car, got in the house, and then he finally went by.
Yeah.
So this is the Dukes of Hazzard shit,
Yeah.
without the racism.
Right. So
I wouldn't go that far, but
But that was, I could have. When I look back on those things, I think about, wow, man,
Wow.
I could have been killed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
Couple
pretty fast.
times.
Yeah.
But
you learn how to drive to this day because you drive a lot.
yeah,
So you learned at an early age and quite well. Baptism under fire,
yes, so to speak.
so to speak.
That got me started at Barber Speedway back in the '60s. But that's another story. I don't know.
All right.
I wasn't that good.
Well, you said Barberton Speedway, so you've driven race cars for sport. You talked earlier tonight about. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You talked earlier tonight about playing. You went to the Mets training camp
Yes, I got to stay there for a week.
with Tub McGraw, and you also you were an amateur boxer, correct? For Golden Gloves under who?
Chetto Kelly.
Okay, and who was Chetto Kelly?
Chetto Kelly was one of the champion boxers from Barberton. One of the few that he had a bar downtown after he retired, and he run a camp for us boys. And I boxed for, I don't know, maybe a year for him. Amateur stuff. Golden gloves, some parts of golden gloves. And that was an experience. And I just looked the other day. I'm at 154 pounds now. That's what I was.
You're fighting weight. You're fighting weight. Look at
Yes,
that.
It was.
Now,
Well, you and Brian can weigh up and go toe to toe now. Because
yeah,
you guys
Brian,
are the
what's
same age
your
bracket,
fighting weight
you're the
these
same
days?
age.
We're doing that at the end of the show.
Yeah, really.
there's featherweight and there's Yokozuna. So, as we go forward,
What you say?
so there's featherweight
That's a
and
'90s wrestling
Yokozuna.
term. You wouldn't. It's
actually,
way after.
I found out Yokozuna was not his name. Yokozuna is a title of sumo wrestling.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought it was a
That was
guy.
his gimmick then.
It
Well,
yeah.
was, but then
But,
part
yeah.
of the gimmick, yeah.
All right. So, I know it's not the same time period, but you boxed as a youth under on the tutelage of Cheto Kelly. But later in life, you got to go to a training camp for who? You had to go watch somebody spar in a training camp.
Oh, Muhammad Ali. Well, at that time it was Cassius Clay.
Oh, so it was early enough to be Cassius Clay, not Muhammad
yeah,
Ali.
it was Cassius Clay. I was stationed at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and a bunch of us got together and went down to the gym that he trained at. And it so happened that he was training that day. And I never seen hands that fast. I mean it.
I mean, you could
That's
watch him on
why I
TV,
found-
but
you
to see him in
get
person?
nothing. Oh. I
how I feel
followed-
when I watch Nick masturbate.
Yeah, well,
And so fast.
So fast.
if he doesn't miss a stroke.
He's been known.
But
Like his kids.
that's what impressed me most. And I followed that man's career all the way and cheered him on with other people, wanted to see him get beat. Because his hands were just amazingly fast. He just, man, I'm thinking about the guy on the other end of that thing that's getting the punches. You don't see him coming. Some of them, I'm sure. That's how fast he was. But he was a great boxer. He really was. But I got to see him.
And to see him in
Wow,
person, that's
cool.
crazy.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
All right, so you graduated in 1960, or what would have been 1965. You chose to when other kids then were being drafted. You chose to volunteer for the military, but you were 17. You had to have my grandmother and Al sign you over.
me in.
Or actually, well, now it was done. It was Maxine and done. They had to sign you over to the U.S. military, a sense. So when you did that, I would guess that's 1964. You went into basic training where?
Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay. Any gold there? You see any gold? Fort Knox. You see any
Ain't no
gold?
gold there.
All right. Well, I don't know. I'm an idiot.
That gold's in a river somewhere in Kentucky.
All right. All right. So, when you leave there, you don't go straight into action. You don't go to Vietnam.
No.
Where do you go?
Back to Fort Knox. After basic training, I went back to Fort Knox and trained. Then after that, I joined the 11th Cav at Fort Meade, Maryland.
Okay.
That's where I,
Yep.
and from there, it was off to the races.
Races as in Korea?
Korea.
You had to go stop by. What did you do? You always told me you spent time in Korea before going to Vietnam. Why would they send you to Korea? Why would you go to Korea before Vietnam?
Because they were losing helicopter crews left and right in Vietnam. And they were not producing them in the country as fast as they needed them. And so, you went.
How How long did you spend in Korea?
8 months, I think.
9
months.
9 months in Korea. So in total, you spent a good 2 to 2.5 years out of country.
Two anyways, yeah.
2 anyways. So we're gonna say Korea was the fun part.
I don't know what you call fun.
Well, I'm just going on some random stories I might have heard as a kid. That's all I'm going on.
These guys would wait for me to come home once in a while from partying and be drinking, and they'd be after me for stories all the time.
Okay, so all right, so I'm going to take this moment here to some of the, and this wasn't even a time that you came home drinking from whatever. This was times you were just coming home after work, and I was asking you about all of this, and I learned a little bit of Korean language, which he learned from the 9 months he was in Korea. So anybody, and this is all I'm going to say about this, because we don't need to go any further, but, taksan chargy, skoshi chargy. So.
You're sure of that?
Positive.
You've been peeking, brother.
Well,
You're not going to find it on there.
So you had some fun. You had downtime in Korea. You got to experience the local tastes, and
I never tasted one. No. I left out for somebody else.
I meant the food.
Damn it! I can't spell it right to even look it up.
Keep trying.
Kimchi.
Oh yeah, shit! I forgot about that. Yeah. But sometimes it wasn't always the best times, though. You had may have had a scuffle or two.
In Korea?
Yeah. You got in a little fights there occasionally, like any service member. Again, we don't have to go with names, but it was your sergeant, wasn't it? That you got in a fight with?
Yeah, that's where I got the scar on my nose.
Yes. Yeah. Chugale?
That's why the glasses.
Chugale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a disagreement there.
Disagreement, okay.
And anyways, he punched me, and that's how that scar got there on my nose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I punched him a few times, and
Yeah.
we were buddies after that.
Nice.
No, I mean, is that for real? Like, you guys got in a fight and you shake hands and let's go have
we
a
didn't
beer?
shake hands.
No, but like.
It took us a few weeks to
Okay.
alter down from where
Okay.
we were. Yeah. It was a disagreement of minor stuff, I guess you'd say. But
Over anything or anybody specific?
no.
All right.
Okay.
Nanun Tanchanan Sanan Himdada.
He just told you he loves you very much.
Very
Sweet,
nice.
huh?
Love you too.
Thank you. All right. So
That's how Dean and I got closer, by the way.
That's right.
Good punch in the
That's
face.
right. All right. So, we're moving along here. All right. So, after Korea, all right. So we'll touch on it. You were in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
After Korea, you went to Vietnam, and we touched on it early in the episode. The movie, They Were Soldiers.
We were soldiers.
We were soldiers.
Shit.
All right.
Anybody that ever
With
had
half a brain knows that movie is called.
okay. Anybody that ever had questioned of, and will ask you, what was that like? What was it? You can't possibly tell anybody what it was like. Watch the movie.
And the one thing I can say is, the one thing I will say is, when you and I were in the theater watching We Were Soldiers, you nudged me in the shoulder and pointed and said, I would be in that
Right. It was a movie.
Fourth or fifth.
It was a movie script, but they did it exactly like it.
But you were in that time,
yes.
in that barrage.
Yes.
And as far as like military films, you feel like that's the most cinematically accurate.
Well, yeah, because you talk to the guys that seen the movie D-Day. No, is that it? Who was that? There was another one where they
Saving
went to-
Private Ryan. About D-Day.
Yeah. The older guys that I talked to, when they seen the movie, they cried.
Sure.
Because
Some had to leave and the whole deal.
and that was the most actual for them feeling of what happened at D-Day. And that's the way I feel about We Were Soldiers. It's just a movie that tells it like it is. And that's about all. I don't go into that subject a lot because I like my sleep at night.
Sure.
You know, because that, for years, that bothered me. For years and years and years. And that's probably why I drank. But it was a lot of it.
Having a kid like Dean will do that to you too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's
Between him and his brother.
Sure.
That's valid.
Would drive an old lady to drink.
So you were in Vietnam and for 14 months
No.
or over a year.
Pretty close to a year. I think I was there, yeah. I come back to the States in July of 66. July of 66.
Okay. So when you get back to the States in 66, they're telling you you're, in so many words, you get there and you're going to be a drill instructor.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the original. The orders read, when I was leaving, the orders read Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And there's only one big unit in Fort Bragg, and that's the 82nd Airborne. I said, I don't get out of perfectly good airplanes. I'm not.
While you say that real quick, the 82nd Airborne is a paratrooper. Parachutes.
And I'm telling I'm not involved in that. I wasn't a parachutist. I didn't have any.
Have you ever?
Just wait till,
Did they ever make you?
No.
Okay.
So they sent me to Fort Jackson from Bragg. They sent me to Fort Jackson for 4.5 weeks, I think it was. To train as a drill instructor. And then they sent me back to Bragg as a drill instructor. And I spent until February of 67. Yeah. February of 67 when I got out. I also had a son at that time and a wife, which really made it even harder. But anyway, that's another part of the story. That's where Joe came from.
Shout out to Joe.
Joe. All right. So you were a drill instructor. You were out in 67. You did civilian life for a couple of years, but during your civilian life, you got to do the National Guard.
Yeah, I wanted to keep my rank, and plus, a bunch of us were talking all the time about, hey, let's join the National Guard, and a few of us did. And I did not want to be in helicopters again.
Sure.
And the idea is Barberton Armory was tanks. Those guys were tanks. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to drive the tank.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got my chance. But
So you got to be in one of the tanks?
I got to drive one.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And most of the time when we go on stuff, I would be driving usually a Jeep because I drove the CO most of the time. I can't remember all Brown, Tucker. I can't remember all the names.
So you were in charge of driving around the guys in charge.
The unit commander.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1970 comes.
Company commander, I should say.
Company commander.
Yes.
So 1970 comes around, and you're in the National Guard. I think you know where I'm going with this.
We were on a small trucker strike. Not small. None of them.
In Michigan, correct?
No, New York.
Okay.
But they were into Ohio. We were on the Ohio line. We weren't going outside of Ohio with it, but they were trying to block exits and stuff in Ohio. But anyways, that ended, and we were in tents at Akron Airport. And we hadn't, we'd just come off this thing. And they bundled up everybody and sent us to Kent. And well, I don't know if any of us really knew what was going on or what was happening or whatever, but...
And for anybody listening who might not know, which would be weird if you didn't, in 1970, the famous Kent State shooting happened. There were protesters for the Vietnam War, and they called the National Guard in to subdue it because at that point they had burned down the ROTC building. And so the governor had called in the National Guard, and things got escalated. I'm not going to go into who was right, who was wrong of why that situation happened, but shots were fired. 4 kids were killed. 4 college kids were killed. And it was a tragedy on both sides, not just the student sides, but it was a tragedy on those men who were there that day. All right. So, you have that all happening at Kent State, and you were called upon, from the strike to Kent State, and you went there. You weren't just there as a National Guardsman, but you were also, like you said earlier in the episode, you were there as a student.
Yes.
So you were as a Kent State student.
I was going to Wadsworth. Kent State had a satellite in Wadsworth, and I was going to Kent there. That's how I was. I don't know. I'm thinking back on. I don't remember the night we got in there or whatever. I know there was all kind of crap happening, but mostly where everybody wants to know, were you there when the shots were fired? I was there, but I was at Johnson Hall, which is a long, long way from the Commons.
And like you said before, you were driving the higher ups.
A captain, yes. And we were just overseeing a lot of the kids leaving, okay? That a lot of them were still leaving, and we wanted to be sure that, they got out safely and their parents come and got them or whatever. And we heard the shots.
Knew something had happened because what gunfire.
There shouldn't be shots, yeah.
Right.
Well, we didn't move.
What do you mean you didn't move?
We didn't move for a few minutes.
Like you
frozen,
and the generals or whoever you were captains all just kind of frozen and like, oh shit, what was that? Mm-hmm. Or, oh shit, I know what that was.
We knew what it was. And what are you going to do? There's nothing we could do.
But what did you do after that?
Nothing.
No, I mean, like, did you drive them over to whatever, or did you guys go back towards the shots?
No, we never went back over there.
Okay.
We went, I forget where we did go. We went back and joined some of the other guys that were securing the buildings. And we never did until it was all over. We were done with it. I mean, our part, we didn't have any part in the real thing. So we broke up from there.
Yeah, all of these years I've heard the story, and cool thing, I don't know, maybe a cool thing, but like I was probably about 5 years ago, I was sitting watching a PBS documentary, and it was about the Kent State shooting. It was on, May 4th, and all of a sudden I look up and they're dead, walking across. It was they had cut from the hill that all that had happened down to where everybody else was, and there was him walking around the Jeep, and I'm like, oh shit. And it's so cool to hear all this for like so many years, and then to physically see that, right? Mm-hmm. It was crazy. So, all right, so after that, you had a lot of friends there, and as students and in the National Guard. That was rough for everybody, like I had said.
Yeah. So you weren't going there? Were you going there at the time?
I wasn't going to Kent. I was going to Kent State.
Right.
But I was in Wadsworth. They have a satellite there.
Okay.
You were a student per se.
Yeah, I was a Kent State student. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. So you were, like literally you were,
you were both
you
on
were
the same
working
day, just
there,
you happened to be
like
working.
you were.
I doubt that I would
Student.
ever run across any of the kids I went to school with in Wadsworth because they wouldn't have been out there.
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge. I don't
Sure.
know. But when we went back to school, nobody talked about it much. What can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mike Pryor was accused of firing the first shot and stuff. Mike was a very, very personal friend of mine, and he's a great guy. And they were accusing him of firing the first shot. Well, he didn't, of course, but they accused him of it. And I told you that, did I tell you that Mike's wife
Yes.
was a nurse?
For when Dawn was born.
When Dawn was born, yeah. So that was kind of related to me. That was about it for there. I stayed in the National Guard for, I don't know how many years after that, a bunch of years after that. But
We actually were, you and Mom were married at the National Guard Armory in
Yes.
Barberton.
right. Yeah, that's. I don't know if I'd have stayed. I'd have been out by now. But
Sure.
when Dawn was born,
Dean's oldest sister.
Yes.
that what
He was saying,
I was just
Dawn is my oldest
for
sister. He
giving
was telling
context. Yeah.
the listeners.
when Dawn was born, or before she was born, though we were at summer camp in Grayling, and I told them I got to go home, and they decided they weren't going to let me. It's the last time.
And then you knew then you were done.
Well, I was done. I got plenty of time to see Dawn born, and that was it.
And after that, you spent time as security guard.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to speed up the timeline type deal because
How fast you going to go, brother?
Well, once us kids are born, who gives a shit about us? So,
Yeah.
right.
40 years of disappointment.
Right.
Yeah.
40 years of disappointment. Who needs to relive that horror?
I wouldn't have traded it for nothing.
Well, I appreciate that you saying that about
He's
them.
not really talking about you.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not about me. It's
Talking
them.
about all.
But the last thing I want to bring up, because the one fun story I did, you spent many time being a security guard because you had done...
I've seen a lot of videos of this now. Security guards. Did you ever catch something like shoplifting?
No.
That's a joke. Never mind. It's a
But tell him my favorite story about being a security guard.
Oh.
ma'am. I hate to. I'm gonna have to call the police. Don't call the police.
This guy's
Yeah,
going to
forget
kill you.
Never mind.
The,
Go ahead.
I was experienced in security, and plus that was my college subjects that I was taking. And so I went to work for a security company. We're not going to mention any names or whatever.
Right.
And they put me in a patrol car. And all I did was check on the guards wherever they might be. And I patrolled the accounts that we had that you had to go through and shake doors and stuff. And you had to take care of the guard posts. You know, you go in and check on them, make sure they were all right, make sure, you know. And which one do you want? One where it blew the tires?
No, I didn't know about blue tires. I'm talking about the guy who came up from behind you.
Yeah, there was a strike at this factory. And when you pull down into the driveway and down across the thing, there's a red light right there. I'm getting ready to pull in to check on the guard inside, and there was a strike going on anyway, you know. And I was sitting there waiting to pull down over the hill, and the guy opened the door on the other side, and I had the gun laid on the seat. And I go, "Close the goddamn door!" And I'm sure he pissed himself. But hey, you know what? That was the one. The other one Dean was talking about is we worked security for a. I don't want to get into names and stuff.
For somebody.
Hmm?
You worked security for a company.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying we had guards in a lot of places. Okay, back in those days. And we had one that was guarding a flight facility. And that was a pretty important job. And
Sure.
we had the best guys we had, you know, because they worked the gate. Nobody, one drive in, one drive out. You know, there's only one road. And I had left the place the day before. I got a call from this colonel, and this colonel was I loved this guy. He was like all the rough colonels you've ever seen, or sergeants even. And he called, and you gotta get down here. All right, I'm on my way. I get down there. Here Billy, the guard, was, the salesman had gone in and he drove back out. Okay, that's that one road. And evidently what happened is he forgot a briefcase or papers or something there. He tried to get back in, but he wasn't going to let him back in. Now, you know, you don't let anybody on that facility. So the guy cussed and pissed and moaned. Finally, he just started the car and drove, and Billy took out both his back tires with it.
You shot him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Then that's when the colonel was calling me. I want you down here. Don't you do nothing to that man. But, sir, he fired his weapon. I don't care. He was protecting the property, and that's what I pay you for. Nothing.
Okay.
He was, and I want him back on that gate. So, okay. And that's what happened, too. That was funny. There was a lot of funny situations. One of the guys was working in a nursing home. Older gentleman. And he sat in the the desk. And that's where he made his rounds from. And if anything come up, he was right there at the desk for it. I get a call from her. "You've got to come down here right now." Get in a car, drive to the nursing home, go in. Was going to go into her office. And, "What the hell's that smell?" There the dude somehow got drunk, peed his pants, and hung his underwear and stuff on her heater. That room was just miserable. Now, see, you got to understand, I got to talk my way out of this.
Yeah.
Because she is pissed. And, oh, Lord, I talked as smooth as I could. We got to get another guard here. Okay. That's what we'll do.
I mean, these are way off the security guard videos that I've watched.
Right?
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah.
That's what?
Yeah, a whole different vibe.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, up until that point, you had kids. Me and my brothers and sisters come along. You work for the city for, 40 years, 30 years. 30 years. And then, you retire from the city.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Get into the taxi service. Go ahead.
into the taxi
Working
service.
for the man every night and day.
All right. So, for this, gentlemen, do you guys have any question? I know you guys might have.
Oh, shit. Are we up?
Right.
I wondered if you gave you guys a break of any kind.
I laid my notebook down about 2.5 hours ago. I did have some questions.
And I didn't answer them in all that time?
Maybe
No.
you did.
In fact,
Huh?
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So on a personal level, you and I have always had a very good relationship. I feel like I've always counted myself lucky to call you my father-in-law and family of my own. You've treated me very well, and I respect you, and I love you very dearly. Had a good relationship.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Really? Are you
Absolutely.
really? You said really?
He was surprised.
Okay, well that maybe throws us off. I was going to say, I think, perhaps, my question to you is, if you were to trade one of your 4 children in exchange for having me as your child,
Oh, that's a good
which
question.
one would it be, and why is the answer Dean?
You think it would be Dean?
I unequivocally think it would be Dean.
Shit just got real.
No, I do have a serious question for you, though. I won't make you answer that.
Okay, thank you.
My serious question. So we actually this ties in well because we've talked a lot tonight about like your whole life and like growing up and things like that. Working on the farm. So as far as like on this podcast, we talk a lot about like people we looked up to, people in pop culture, whether it be a character or an actor or whatever. Was there, and this is not tied necessarily to performers, or who would you cite in your life was the primary hero, if you will, or somebody that you aspired to be like? Like for me,
So this isn't necessarily
yeah,
a
like
character.
I mean,
It could be a
certainly
actual person.
As a little child, there were certain wrestlers or athletes or actors. In my real life, it was my opa, my grandfather, who you knew well.
So,
real
quick.
Either or. You can answer either or.
So you're saying young Don, growing up,
Yes.
looking up to
was-
somebody much older.
Sure.
So why is it Brian?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Who was who was it that, whether it be as a child or in your young adult life, who is someone you look to draw inspiration, or somebody that you admired or wanted to be like when you grew up?
I guess Hope Dean, my grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Hard worker.
Yep.
Great farmer.
Great name.
Good man. And there would be an athlete. I got the athlete that I admired most was Ali.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Dean knows that. Going back, I got T-shirts and never mind. But I admired him because of his stand he took.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure.
And I admired him because of his talent.
Yeah.
And he was just a great guy.
Yeah.
That's about who it is.
The greatest ever.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's a good answer.
Yeah. Fantastic.
All right. So my question.
Uh-huh.
You don't get any more questions, Brian. You're
You've been
Hold on. I've got a real quick question.
I feel like a district attorney.
I know. Real quick question, because I know all of this. That's why I'm leading the interview.
Oh, okay.
But the quick question I want to know, what I don't think you've ever actually told me, was give me the best, because you were a drill instructor for a brief period. Give us we've all seen Full Metal Jacket. You maggot, you fuckstick, you fucked. You know what I mean? All of that. Give us the best mean thing you'd say to somebody, to a cadet or whatever you want to call
All
it.
right, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
You run like Dean Harvey.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's
Run
why
like
I
my
didn't
future son.
That's why I got sent home
maggot.
from Florida.
You run like my weak cum.
I don't know if I go that far.
Neither did that come, but it did.
That one that got through, man.
What was the
110.
question again? What?
Give us a mean
Okay. I'll give you an
drill
example.
instructor.
I'll
thing.
give you
Yes.
an example.
Could also be something you said to your kids, by the way. That
Which
qualifies.
I'm guessing I have heard this.
Yeah, he's already heard it.
Yes.
Cut his head off, shit out of his neck.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was one of my favorites because
Cut your head off and shit down your neck. Yep. I heard that a lot
nice.
as a child.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That initiates action.
It does.
Yeah,
You get
But
on.
you don't want that.
No.
I mean, if it turns out to be a real threat, that's a scary thing.
I
don't
got
want that.
caught once when I was a drill instructor because at that time there was a lot of South Carolina boys in that basic training unit.
Clan members.
No. Just crazy. Wild. Anyways, I had this one that just kept pushing my buttons. And I got really tired of it. And he flags back behind, doesn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I thought. One evening, he rubbed me the wrong way one too many times. So I took him out to the dumpster, had him lean against the dumpster, and yell, "I'm a busted hillbilly." Loud and frequently. Well, about that time, the staff guard goes by with the officer of the day in it. And he goes, "What are you doing to that boy?" I'm going, "I hear that hillbilly accent. I know I'm in shit." So I said, "Well, sir, I've just had a lot of problems. I almost got Article 15 over that."
I'm a busted hillbilly.
That's it, man. I was tired of
I think
it.
we found the name of the podcast. I'm a busted hillbilly.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
But I'd had the length of the rope was out with him. I don't know. Wild stuff.
Brian, you have a question? Or multiple? Or
No, everything was answered. I think.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to ask something that Dean didn't know about you. I think you've covered. I don't know.
Well, that's a pretty good question. Is there everything I've asked you and everything you know about me and you and I? But is there something I don't know
About me?
about you or your story?
Well, I'm not going to give you a lot of my sexual experiences if that's what you're
No,
after.
I watch those videos. I
Yeah,
know
we
a
don't
lot
have
about
all
those.
night here.
Yeah, that's a long list.
Yeah.
Just get this fuck on.
Not a long list.
No, I think for me, not only just being your son, but there's been a lot of times, and again, I don't want to call myself out upon, your other kids, my brother and sisters, but you and I you've told me a lot of these stories throughout the years, and there's been a lot of times where it's just been you and I, even as a kid, just sitting together and talking about this, and everything we've touched on tonight is just, raising the surface comparative to what you and I have
Some
talked
of the
about.
things, yeah.
Right. And there's some things we can't talk about
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Well, yeah, and the fact that there was a lot of places a lot of things that I did that were not, wasn't really that great. Just living and surviving
Sure.
life itself and just moving on. Those were some of the highlights, not always highlights, but some of the things that I did was different than a lot of people would have done. Just day to day. That's the way you do it.
Well, but
Still doing that.
But what you've done, or what we've highlighted here, and like I said, what some of even the stuff that we couldn't even get to time wise, you've done just amazing things. Like I said, a Forrest Gump-esque style life without being the. I was about to say something real bad about Forrest Gump, but with
Man's got millions of dollars.
he
Yeah,
does. But
Forrest Gump, no person.
no, I was about to say. Never mind.
Shame on Tom Hanks.
He didn't need the money.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
He does it now.
But
Certainly
Dad,
didn't for Pinocchio. Allie knows what we're talking about.
Yep, she's
Dad.
listening right now.
thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Yes.
I hope. I mean, even if anybody here or you two have got to know a fraction of what I know, you guys, I would think, are a little bit better for it. I appreciate you doing this. I've been wanting to do this, like I said earlier, in many different ways. I'm lucky to have done it this way, and for you
Yeah,
to be
because
here
I
with
wasn't
us.
going to write a whole book of this yet.
Well, yeah, our hands get tired. Yeah, so.
Really.
But honestly, thank you. I appreciate it so much, and I love
It
you.
was my pleasure. I just hope that I enjoyed it. I had to
I'm glad you
as
did.
did we.
rack my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
and Take me through some territories I hadn't been in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Like thinking about Nick's nipples.
Huh?
Yeah, you know, it's never a bad time to take a stroll down that
It's
lane.
not a bad.
That's not a story I'm going to take home to your mother.
Well,
Might get her a little too excited.
well.
Well, I just will say I wanted to leave an hour ago.
Really.
Yeah, that
So
would
did I.
have been impolite.
Not really. I didn't want to leave, but I do got to get up.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking. No. I've really enjoyed this experience. I will say that I thank you for your service, certainly, and I could see further just based on this conversation alone. I mean, I don't know, but I would guess that you believe that serving your country is one thing, but being a good, respected father and grandfather, that's a whole other level of accomplishment in any man's life.
Right.
Right. So, and you definitely seem to have accomplished that. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
yes.
Well
Thank
said.
you very much.
Well said.
Thank you very much.
As much as I respect you for all the stories that I've heard this evening, the luxury that I've had to know you over the last 13 years
and know who you are as a person and have you, like I said, accept me into your family and stuff has been truly just the pinnacle of who you are. So I appreciate that and love you to death. You know that. So thank you again for being here. We do appreciate
The
you coming
favorite
on here
son-in-law thing don't hurt either.
Nah, you know what? I mean, that status,
Yep.
you know, never
That's
hurts.
high. That's high esteem, man.
Rob watches this, he gonna be upset.
That's right.
Hey,
Rob, I'm
That's
only
all right.
his
We'll just leave
favorite second son-in-law. There you go. There you go.
Yep.
That's fine.
yep. You can just drive him crazy.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
But and same goes to be said for all the family out
Dad,
there.
thank you. I love you.
All the family
Love you, bud.
out there. If you're watching, we love you to death. This has been a nice thing. Brian and I were talking off camera. This is a nice thing for, you know, not only the listeners to listen to, learn something new, learn new things about an interesting life that someone has lived, but also for your family to have, you know. For,
And I appreciate
for
you two
generations
for
going on forward. I mean, you guys can always listen back to this and listen to the incredible stories you've had, and this has been a really nice time.
No one else will listen to it, but that's okay.
That's right.
Great.
That's right.
You know,
That's
it's fine. It's good.
Bump my brain a little bit.
Now get me out of this goddamn chair.
the whole time just
take you all.
smoke, just smoke coming up from above his head from trying to think.
Well, it does. It takes me back to a lot of things that I don't usually see all in one evening.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, bumping my memory was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had one, but,
There you go.
It's good.
Well, that being said, speaking of racking your brain, do you have any social media accounts you'd like to plug right now for the viewers or listeners at home? Where can they find you on Facebook,
anything
X?
of what you
At
just
Boomer Don on Twitch.
Actually, let's just
Oh, can we start a Boomer Don account?
hashtag.
We have
and
to. Hashtag
TikTok.
Boomer Don.
Yep.
That's right. Yes.
please let me know how that works.
Sure.
We will. We'll run it for you and everything. It's fine.
Yep.
We'll start your T-Public. It'll be fine. Anyway, so
Yeah, we can.
Thank you, boys.
absolutely. So, well, this has been another fantastical episode of Convincing Idiots, and if you're still listening, we appreciate you, just like we appreciate my lovely father-in-law, Boomer Don. And if you've not already done so, please feel free to find us on all your favorite social media accounts. You can find them on a link tree. Simply go to Google and type in Convincing Idiots, Linktree, LINKTREE, and you can find links to Facebook, Instagram, X, all of the things that we are on. Threads, we're on all of them. Our email account is also on there. You can also find all that information and so much more on our website. That's convincingidiots.wordpress.com. So, for this episode of Convincing Idiots featuring Boomer Don, I am Millennial Nick.
I'm Xennial Dean.
Larry Mulburn.
Gen X Brian.
Have we convinced you to come back and join us for another informative and insightful episode of Convincing Idiots? Are you convinced?
I'm convinced.
He's fucking convinced. Let's go.
Hey, Dean with Convincing Idiots. Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.
Ham grape.